Nick. There we go.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to call the April 5th meeting for the Bennington County Solid Waste Alliance together. We do have a quorum, and the first order of business will be to accept the minutes of the February 1st meeting. And do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, any changes, adjustments, additions, corrections? Okay, all in favor of accepting the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you. And Scott, I will turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, everybody. Good to see you all again. It's been a little while, but we've had it hasn't been that long, but we had a lot going on. You know, the main purpose of this is to really catch everybody up to date on what's going on with the household hazardous waste facility. We are, you know, still trudging along with that. You know, we did agree at the last board meeting to have some additional board meetings here too. So we'll talk about it at the end, but I think the minutes had another date on here as well for us to add at the end of the meeting, but you know, for further updates. But the first thing is discussing the facility staffing and oversight RFQ. So I sent out a request for qualifications to 20 vendors in the area, including folks across the border in New York State and Massachusetts. Some folks that work, you know, in districts other than our own, but chiefly targeting the waste hauler community. A copy of the RFQ is included here. These were sent out last Monday. Basically, you know, just requesting the services for, you know, 1 day a week, explaining that we will go through training.
Yes, I'll get it.
There are some fairly high insurance qualifications involved with this that are you know, was recommended by VCLT for us. So I put that in there based on that. So I don't know if that's going to potentially be a point that's a little troubling, or whether the technicality, because a lot of our haulers are very small operations, just one or two folk shops. But I will be doing some follow-up outreach again this week, a little more one-on-one than general email blast stuff, and see if we can get a little more traction. As for the timeline for the request for qualifications goes, you know, I have that listed on page 8 of the RFP here. And so the issue date was March 27th. We have questions and just general opening up until the end of next week, or the middle of next week on April 13th. Then the qualifications deadline, we want to have everything submitted to us by April 19th. And then I'm going to review them.
This is February.
I should note, Scott, that on the cover page, you had February 19th.
February 19th.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I just said.
Thank you.
We're going backwards in time. I like it.
Well, I'll send a
It do us all some good, wouldn't it, Stu?
I feel younger.
I apologize. That should be I'll try to be a little more careful with my copy editing and loop Paul in for closer inspection on some of these things in the future. Right, so the idea is to basically have everything turned in by April 19th, you know, have some interviews and make a decision by May 1st, and then really just start creating a contract with the vendor to get them into place to start training, you know, at the end of May, potentially visit a couple of sites with us. You know, Rutland and Brattleboro both offered us the ability to shadow them for a day when we have our staff all set up, and I think that's really going to be helpful. And then you know, and then we'll begin operations when all of that pans out effectively. Are there any other questions about this? It's a, you know, so sort of
I would say, Scott, this is an incredibly detailed request for qualifications.
Yes,
Is this
Very
is this
well
too much,
done.
you think? This is what I was used to
It's
doing. in
more
my previous-
substantial than anything I've done, even for gigantic
Yeah.
projects. But that may be, and it's probably gonna disqualify a bunch of the people who are already not gonna be able to have the staff do this. So it's, I don't know, I'm not sure it's that big of a deal because the bigger companies that are actually gonna be interested probably have the administrative capacity to handle it, but it's Vermont. So
Yeah.
maybe not, but we'll see.
Okay, well, I appreciate the feedback. You know, I can send out a revision as well if you want me to sort of cut something back.
If we don't get any bites, we'll cross that bridge when we need to.
Yeah, that was gonna be my only question, Scott, was just whether or not you've had any touch points with any of the vendors you sent it out to and whether or not they were talking about sending something in.
Yeah, nothing, not much so far, you know, just, yeah, just some general feedback. Thank you. We received it, I'll look it over kind of stuff, but nothing really, nothing that has really been, you know, no substantial questions as of yet, so.
hopefully it doesn't scare people away. They can't read that much.
Right. Well, I tried at the end, you know, and again, the problem is also at the end, but I said, you know, this is, if you just answer these questions, you know, and exhibit 2 at the end, this will satisfy all the requirements, so. Hopefully that's-
That was awesome.
Yeah,
That is something I'm
yeah.
definitely gonna steal in the future.
But yeah, I can also reduce the number of questions that need to be answered for this type of thing. So, yeah, this is largely based on when I was issuing RFPs for, you know, my previous position. So this was.
Here,
Very thorough.
here's a thought. Do they run the Rutland, they run their,
Yeah, Rutland runs their own facility, and
how
so
many
does
days a
Groveland.
week do they run?
Right, yeah, so they run, I think Rutland runs theirs. I think they're 5 days a week, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
They have one staff member dedicated to their household hazardous waste facility. It's a full-time staff member. Now, that is actually something that I did just think of recently is that perhaps one of the local other solid waste entities might be interested in
We
that.
could, if one of those guys would be willing to,
Yeah,
one or two, we could do that too.
yes,
You know, use experienced people.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you-
and then we would
if you
need
get
to pay
that,
for
that's
the
worth a
additional
lot.
time for training. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Save a lot of time and effort.
you know, we can touch back on this a little bit too, but I also have like a range for kind of what we can accept to stay within the general budget guidelines that we've been talking about. And that's based partially on the next thing that we're going to talk about, which is, it's not actually listed in here. Sorry, but it's all in the budget update item. So we'll talk about that all in item 3. So the second item is use of property contract with the town of Bennington. So another item that came back when we started, you know, getting all the permit stuff in order for the state and talking to them about both. You know, the SWIP amendment was also that we need some kind of a formalized lease agreement or some other kind of contractual agreement that allows us access to the property. You know, as Stu was recently renegotiating all of their contracts with Casella. We postponed that a little bit until all of that was squared away. And now we're working with the town to get that lease agreement set up between us and Casella. So that's us and the town of Bennington, rather, excuse me.
Yeah, I've reached out to Scott. I've reached out to council today. I'm just looking for a very simple land lease document that we can just plug in perhaps the acreage and move forward. It doesn't have to be too complicated.
Yeah, perfect. Just something simple that we can just show that we have the right to be there and the ability to access the space. Thank you for getting that together. So I'll keep you updated on that. Is the contract something that the board will need to review in order to ratify, just to confirm? at our next meeting? Is that something we need to look before I sign? Is that something we can pass around and just ask for comments on?
I feel it'd be nice if the board just approved it.
Okay.
There are other choices giving you a blanket authorization to sign whatever, and that's always a kind of scary can of worms, so.
Yeah, I'll make sure everyone gets a chance to see it and then review it. And so we'll have we'll schedule the meetings based around that.
Great.
Solid waste implementation plan ratification. We talked about this a little bit before the meeting officially started, but so we have reached out to all of the towns again, just to sort of get the general status. We've got 3 that have already passed it through the select board. We have another 4 that have it on the calendar dates, and I'm working with the other towns to make sure that everything is going to be able to be put in front of the boards before the end of the month, and we can also continue on schedule for our getting our permits in place with the state. So if there are any other questions related to that, I understand both Dixie and Tom asked for signature pages because that's the easiest way for them to present it to their board and bring it to their board. I will also be sending those out to everybody by the end of the day, but or by the end of tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll get those put together and sent to you. But as far as the state asked for me, they just said they needed, the date of the meeting that it was approved, and just sort of send them a list. I've reviewed all of the, I reviewed all of the minutes that are published, on the respective town websites, and I could also collect those as my records for anybody that's already gone through and pass that at their select board level. So no need for you to get signature pages in the aftermath if you've already done it. Great. Any other questions about that? Okay. Next item is the Bennington Development Review Board. So we have gotten all of our paperwork together, and we were scheduled to actually be on last night's Development Review Board. But MSK, about a few days ago, they had some additional meetings with the town administration, and they decided that the application qualified for administrative approval instead of being going through the actual Development Review Board process. So we expect administrative approval to be completed by the end of this week, and then we'll be all set to have the concrete poured and everything else ready for the property preparation.
Good. That's good.
So in that case, we'll talk about the updated timeline then. If you look on page 17, we've got a few things completed. I've worked with our website company to develop a website-based reservation system that is, put into place. There's just a couple other things like connecting it to the same PayPal account that now runs our compost store and everything like that. But the website is all developed. It's a nice, pop-up, easy for people to come in and, schedule a time. We've set the price at $5 for residents. And it's in the meeting minutes, but I think it was $20 for non-residents to drop off waste. Obviously, and then the individual businesses will not be able to, businesses that are going to be also using our disposal, will not be able to drop off regularly during those time slots. They will have to coordinate with when we are having a pickup, by the vendor at the company. So by the vendor, whenever that's going to be, like 9 a.m. in the morning, when the truck comes in, we will make sure that that's the only time we're going to let the conditionally exempt generators drop off. So everything's basically set up for the reservation system. I've got an initial draft of the operations plan that I've got underway. So that's also part of the paperwork to submit to the state. It's basically just confirming that we understand all of the state laws related to how long these items are going to be, stored for, and et cetera, letting them know, we have the barrels, we have the thing, we will have everything in place to operate the plant. Those look fairly similar, across all the different solid waste management entities that have sent me examples of theirs. So I'm just kind of borrowing their language for a lot of that, but I will have that ready for you guys to review at our next board of directors. Then, of course, the RFQ for the contracted labor, we just discussed that. And then the town approvals for the DRB process. So I also just mentioned that. So this April, we're looking to finalize the adoption of the solid waste implementation plan amendment at the select board levels. We are going to get that agreement usage between the town of Bennington and BCSWA set up. And then once those two things are in place, we will be able to get issued our EPA site ID number and all the rest of our state permits finalized to operate in the space. Also, as soon as we have town approvals all in place, I will begin working with the Bennington Department of Public Works to get the concrete slab poured where the item will be dropped off, where the trailer will be dropped off. Unit delivery is still set for May. No exact date has been worked out with us yet, but I wanted to wait until we had a good sense of when the concrete was going to be down. So we have to wait until temperatures are between 40 and 60 degrees. It may even need to be poured in May if that's the case instead of the end of April, but we'll see how the weather treats us. Next week is going to be very warm, so maybe we'll continue to have a hot spell and it'll not be an issue. Then in May, we're going to get the unit delivered. Then we're going to begin promotion of the facility. And then we'll have all the additional things, activation of the fire suppression systems. We'll have the contractor come in and bolt it down to the concrete. And then, hiring of the training and staff as the schedule is outlined in the RFQ, and then purchasing all the supplies and everything that we're going to need, which is going to be a fairly big order from the, probably New Pig or some other specialty store that focuses on this type of equipment and materials. Yeah, so that's the main outline of how we're moving forward now.
Will that include drums of hazardous waste in? Is that the part of the
Yeah,
supply?
so it's going to be a lot of 55-gallon drums, a few smaller ones for various things. We're never going to fill a 55-gallon drum with with mercury thermostats. That would take 15 years for us to do that probably. So, those will go into a 5-gallon, metal container. But yeah, but things like that, I can. I have a preliminary list of the equipment that we're going to buy. I shared a few months back. That was, an update from the original plan that was part of our grant application that had a lot of that stuff itemized in it. I can share that with the board if you guys are interested in more information as to what kind of supplies we're going to be purchasing. If you'd like. Great. All right, so now we can move on to page 18, and this is first of our contractors here that we're going to be hiring for the facility. This are quotes for disposal services. What I put together here is I took the quantity of the 2022 household hazardous waste collection that we did across the 3 events. All collected last year, of course, by US Ecology. The prices are higher this year than they were last year, as reflected in this estimate quote. But this is what a season would look like for us under the assumption that we will receive the same amount of traffic that we receive at our events. You see that I got 3 quotes. Clean Harbors, which is the company that worked with us before US Ecology. I guess about 5 years ago or so, there were some issues with the way that they managed the events and left long queues and things like that folks weren't too happy with. But if they're just picking up that kind of thing, doesn't matter as much. They did come in the highest at 51,900. The second highest was US Ecology, who we're currently working with, comes in at 49,933. And the third highest, the lowest bid that came in was a group called Heritage, which also works with the Springfield Household Hazardous Waste Collection Facility and the Brattleboro folks. And they were the lowest, although their pricing structure was a lot stranger because they have a lot higher fees structure. So they have a lower general seasonal price per item, but then they really stick it to you with 30% fuel for surcharges and 20% insurance for surcharge on top of that. So it ended up being their cost at the actual point of pickup does get comparable closer to the US Ecology stuff, but still they're the best price. And I followed up with like I said, those two other local solid waste management entities, and they're happy with the service. They say that trucks come frequently, and you don't really have to wait around for their schedule, because they also do a lot of pickups in Vermont of commercial entities. So they are based out of Colony, New York, I think, or somewhere in the Albany area. They also discussed with me the opportunity that maybe if we got our pickups done the same day, we might be able to split the fuel surcharge in some way, shape, or form. So that's a potential cost saving that might be a way to partner with local solid waste management entities.
Great.
Yeah, so if there's no other questions about this, I'd like to move forward and try to get into the contract with Heritage for the year.
So do you need a motion to award to Heritage? Okay, so I'll make that motion.
You think you could beat them down a little bit on the surcharge? Seriously,
Okay, to start
That-
negotiating.
that's astronomical, in my estimation.
50%, is that?
50%,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, it was a 30% fuel surcharge and a 20% insurance surcharge.
This almost feels like this warms my economist kind of self that says this is probably them just unbundling things out of the prices meaningfully, as
Yeah.
opposed to the other ones that are really more charging it. That this surcharge is more about fuel for the other two, and it feels like they're just pricing in the insurance at the end, because frankly, it probably is more flatly applied for them that a surcharge is a better mechanism. I don't know. I'm not even sure we need to, when it's clearly built into their pricing structure that they're just unbundling. This isn't them trying to tack fees on to get people out or to do.
Looks more like profit grabbing to me.
I don't know, but it could be either.
Well, I'll make sure to review what the actual contractual language is going to be. That they sort of gave me was a
I mean,
rate sheet, to base this stuff on. So, what the, if there's a much wider range and the things fluctuate, a lot based on the price of fuel or something like that, we'll have to see. It's also possible that, I got a high quote because the cost of fuel has been high recently, although who knows whether it's going to ever change. So that's not something that we can necessarily count on in our budgeting. But right. So Nick had made a motion to enter into a contract with Heritage based on the rate sheet that was given for these quotes and estimates.
Do we have a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
Great, thank you. Any other discussion?
Well, just a question, maybe I missed what was the term of the agreement? Is just a year or?
I have not, this is not, I guess this, I'll begin negotiations and I'll bring the contract back to us at our next board meeting.
Got it. Okay.
I have a question, Scott.
Yes, Nancy?
Yes, Nancy?
When the facility is up and running, would each town be putting something on their webpage about the permanent household waste facility, the opening hours, the fee? Or is this something that the Alliance should all agree on before we post it on our individual websites?
So, I think everyone, all the towns, I would like them all to have a link on their website to our,
Okay.
registration page.
Yep.
And, that information can also include like what the cost is, for residents and non-residents. That'll all be repeated to them when they get to the homepage, but it's good to have that basic information available at the town level. I'll also be distributing, because I've been getting calls from the operators at our local transfer stations.
Right,
Just some flyers right now that say there will be no events this year, but we do plan on opening a facility in June. I've already put those together. I think I have a couple here. Maybe I can give it to Tom on the way out. But and I will be bringing those. I'll be bringing those to the transfer stations. Sometime in the next week or two. So that way when all the folks come and start asking inevitably, hey, don't you normally have something going on in May?
right. That
Oh,
would
you
be
already
helpful.
manned that one this morning. So
Will not
Okay,
happen.
thank you. That would be helpful.
So I'll make sure we get that, and then similar information can then be put on the town websites as well. So I'll make sure to do that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Great. So now that we have a sense as to what our disposal estimates are going to be, that actually gives us a much better operations budget overall.
Did we actually vote on that?
No, we have not.
motion? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. To begin negotiation, I guess was the
Okay.
motion was changed to not to enter into a contract, but to begin negotiation with Heritage. Okay.
So any more discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Carries.
That was Nick and Rob, right?
All right, Stu. What was that?
Nick and Stu. Okay. Okay, so, it's just the beginning of this quarter, so this, the budget that's here for expenses, this is exactly the same as you saw in February. I haven't had time to, we haven't done all the quarterly stuff now because it's only the 5th, but we'll make sure to have a full budget review for year-end stuff at the next meeting.
Great.
It is there though, so to help you think about what we spent, what we have budgeted for our general household hazardous waste information, and then sort of what we spent in the past. So on page 20 shows what our operating budget could potentially be. What we spent at for the total of the 3 events last year was $84,713.30. Keeping with us wanting to make this something that keeps the costs the same or lower potentially. This allows us to have a sense of now with our disposal budget being in that $42,000 range, that leaves with us spending the same amount of money next year on events, that leaves us an additional $42,000 to potentially use for a vendor to come in and do staffing and help us operate the facility. So that's sort of the upper range of our ability to have a vendor come in at. Ideally we get somebody less because it is just a one-day operation for just a few months over the summer, but we'll have to see what the proposals come back to us before we can really see. But effectively this is these are the parameters that I'm using to make those judgment calls, and will be part of the process for determining who we want to work with. Great. Okay, so now we're on to item 4, which is outreach and events updates. So Paula has some very exciting news. She's done some good work with the SVSU here. I'm sorry, with the school district here. So yeah, if you want to get into some of your report, we'd be interested in hearing, Paula.
Sure.
So, hello, everyone. Right now, we've been working with Southern Vermont Supervisory Union and the Abbey Group. Had a couple of planning meetings to overhaul all of their waste sorting facilities in their cafeterias. It's a mixed bag as to what's working, what isn't. For the high school level, they are actually doing a total revamp of all of their cafeteria seating over this next year, so that come fall, they'll have a whole new setup, and they hope to have the sorting system set up and have it read, or rather led by the students themselves, led by faculty advisors to help them get really good student buy-in. And then eventually roll this out to all of the schools, elementary, Shaftesbury, Bennington, all the way through Monument, and then some of their satellite facilities as well. We have another meeting not scheduled yet, but something we're going to talk to them probably the next 3 or 4 weeks to see how they're coming along, because they were scheduling meetings in-house among different departments to try to desire how they want their layout to look, and how the mechanics, whether they're going to use commercial installations or build something of their own, depending on what the needs are of the particular student pupil population. So we're eager to help them get that going along. I'm also preparing for
that. Yeah, that's in, just to be clear, that's in 2 elementary schools, the middle school and the high school, a revamp of the trash collection system on the floor for the youth to use in all those schools, and it's being, and the supervisory union has agreed to pay for all of that itself, and have them in place by September, or hopefully in place, when the new semester starts at the end of the summer. So Paula is working on that, and it's a lot of folks to help coordinate, but she's given all the information that she has to them, and it's going very well. So she's already had 2 or 3 meetings with them, and has another one coming up soon.
Yeah, we've offered to do site evaluations to help them also if they need to do a waste audit at each location, because each location uses different types of materials. Some of it, the students use reusable serveware, plates, cups, silverware. Other times they can't because they lose too much of it, or it's just the nature of the population. But it's a little different in every scenario. You've got kids that have accessibility needs, so you have height of counters that have to be taken into consideration, as well as just the height of the student. As they get older, they need bigger equipment. So that's what they're also trying to figure out. So they're now looking to coordinate with the principals of the schools to get their buy-in and coordination to hopefully embrace this program. So we're very excited and ready to help them with anything they need in the process. I'm also working this month with Earth Day coming up. The Manchester Energy Committee has asked us to participate in their Earth Day Energy Fair event that's on April 22nd at the Manchester Town Hall. And they asked us to produce a 2 to 3 minute video talking about the subject of recycling and reduce, reuse messaging, which I produced and sent to them to be included on a recurring loop on a video monitor that they're going to have at the event. And they've also asked me to make a presentation of about 15 minutes, just talk about recycling and answer questions, as well as host a booth the day of the event. So I'll be there that day from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. if anyone wants to come by. We encourage folks to stop by and say hi. We are also working to present a Trash on the Lawn Day program in May 18th to some 4th graders at Molly Stark Elementary School. That's an outdoor event where we basically have the school hold all of the trash from the prior day or two for the school. The kids get to sort through the trash with some nitrile gloves on to try to get a sense of what it is, where things go in proper sorting bins, test their knowledge on what they know to be recyclable, help them understand what is and what isn't, and then maybe come back at a future date to see how much they remember. They go home with some good information to share with their families. We're creating, we created and distributed newsletters to both the general newsletter population that we have, mailing list, and the school newsletters. If you have members of your town that want to receive these letters, just either email me directly, or you can sign up for our general newsletter on our website anytime and gets added to the roll that we do through MailChimp. So we'll have another one go out in June. We're finalizing the farmer's market, scheduling the appearance listing for what dates we're going to appear. I can't control the ones I do at Dorset because I'm a backup vendor. So I'm called when there's a cancellation and given the opportunity, usually with about a 48-hour notice or less. So if I have the Sunday free and they can give me enough advance notice, then I sign up when I can. I do it usually about once a month. But starting, end of May, beginning of June, all these Manchester, Arlington, Dorset, Bennington, those are the 4 markets that I usually participate at. We've been working with the state as well to update our special recycling programs, specifically the fluorescent bulb recycling. There's been some challenges at a couple of the transfer stations and compliance and safely collecting the bulbs, storing them and waiting for them to get picked up. So we had somebody from the state come down and visit a couple of the transfer stations and offer them some training. And we also are confirming with retailers to make sure that whether or not they're participating, and also making them aware of the general phase out of fluorescent bulb sales throughout the state of Vermont. That's kind of in a 2-phase. The first one was done in January, and the next one is next February. We're also doing events outreach that's beginning to talk to the coordinators that do all the events every summer in the warm seasons when there's big festivals and things that are going on outside. I met today actually with the event organizer for the 2 homebrew festivals that happened down in Bennington. There's one in April, and then again, they've moved it from August out to October. And they're really excited because they want to improve the type of source separation that they've been doing in the past. Challenges with COVID have been really hard because they can't always get reliable volunteers when you get last-minute illnesses that kind of wipe out the volunteer army that otherwise would help with that sort of thing. But they are working with vendors to try to get more participation and getting materials that actually are recyclable and compostable where the case allows. If you know of any new organizations that are putting on events or new events that are coming to your area, if you can let me know, that would be great. I kind of scroll through town websites and other sources that I find to try to figure out when these things are happening and calendars. I see we've got a Dead of Summer Festival that's starting up in Manchester, July 7th and through the 9th, which is a live music event. I don't know the organizer, so if anybody, I guess Leslie's not on the call, but I can email her directly. So if you know of any other events that you hear bubbling up in your region that are coming about, drop me a line if you would to let me know so I can reach out to their organizer to give them any information about that in advance before their events actually take place. Let's see, I think that's about it. Yeah, we're keeping up the social media outreach. We're going to start putting that into high gear, especially with the opening of the household hazardous waste collection facility in the next month or so, to really let everybody know, because I've been answering questions on Facebook, people asking about when the next collection date is at the middle school. So I have to help them understand that that's going away and being replaced with something even better. So if you got any questions, give me a holler. Thanks for your time.
You're doing a great job, Paula. Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Speaking of Manchester, there will be, just so everybody knows, Scott Murphy will be taking over Leslie's place on the board. That's been confirmed to us. He was unable to make it today. Also, we will be getting a replacement from our Sandgate representative, as the elected official is no longer serving on the select board there. That was our representative there. So, any additional board updates, I'll let everyone know at our next meeting. Okay, next is public comments. There's no members of the public here on the call, it looks like.
Next meeting?
So we had, at the end of last meeting, agreed to have both the meeting today and another meeting on May 3rd. We can potentially schedule an additional meeting beyond that at this point too, if you guys are interested, or we can just sort of move forward and see where we are in May at this point.
Same time,
4 PM.
4 PM.
Yep,
on the
that's also a
3rd.
Wednesday.
Great. Any other business? Anything anyone wants to bring up? I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you
Aye.
very much, everybody. And
Thank you.
Scott.
Thank you.
What's that?
4:42.
4:42.
All right.